Hello my Pokepadons and TBU fans alike, here we are! It's week 3 of the TBU, our match against the Kentucky Kecleons and their coach, Squirtacular. So, you may have already seen my team in the team analysis video that I did on Friday. I do apologise for the lateness of this video. It's still technically the weekend, we've all got a bit of extra time in the weekends, and especially on a Sunday, so hopefully you'll also get plenty of chance to see this. So, I brought, as you probably already know, Snorlax, Skuntank, Rotom-W, Quagsire, Metagross, and Mega Sceptile. Our opponent has brought Mew, Raikou, Kecleon, Mandibuzz, Porygon-2, and Charizard X. So, not too far away from what I was expected to see. The Raikou certainly. Mew is too good a Pokemon not to bring, to be honest. Porygon-2 was his bench switch this week, so it was pretty obvious that that was coming as well. So yeah, seeing the Porygon-2 and the Mandibuzz, I definitely want to get a Toxic on at least one of those two with Skuntank. Probably Porygon-2, because I don't have knockoff. The closest thing I have to knock off is Trick on Rotom-W, and the likelihood of getting that off is quite slim. And even if that's not a defensive variant, it could well just be max HP, max special attack. So if I scarf it, that's going to cause problems. So I definitely want to get a Toxic off on Porygon-2, want to get a Toxic off on Mandibuzz and Mew as well, if I can, hopefully, if it's running a bulky set. I mean, it could be Choice Specs, it could be Choice Band, it could be Choice Scarf. That's the thing with Mew, it could be literally anything. It could be whatever you can dream of. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I hope you guys are too. We are thirsty for a win. We are so thirsty for a win this week. We've had 2 losses so far. To be honest, I kind of feel like they've been down to really clutch plays. I mean, I feel like I've made quite strong plays the last 2 weeks and kind of lost them on pivotal turns. Last week particularly was the speed type with Volcarona against Medicham, and that gosh darned Mirror Coat on Alomomola. That was a grade A play from Anima. So yeah, without much more yabbering, let's get into the match. Okay, so here we go guys. This is it. It's battle time. Josh is issuing a challenge to which we gratefully step up. He opens with Mew and I opened with Snorlax, expecting the Raikou to lead, to be honest, because Snorlax is kind of my Raikou check. He taunts me, probably expecting me to maybe be a Curse set, a Curse Rest Talk set, but I'm not. I'm a Assault Vest, offensive Assault Vest set, so I just go straight for a Crunch, and that does a very nice 50% damage to Mew. So seeing that, he clearly doesn't want to stay in and take another one and lose Mew so early, so he goes for the U-turn here. And he switches into Naruto, who is his Mandibuzz, who could take pretty much any hit. I go for another Crunch, kind of hoping Mew would stay in, not wanting to over-predict too much. It doesn't do too much, and we take Rocky Helmet damage, so I really don't want to be taking any unnecessary damage with Snorlax. So I bring in Pepe, maybe to get the Toxic off. Mandibuzz doesn't want to stay in though. Probably seeing through the Toxic and goes for the U-turn and switches out into Aragon, the Charizard X. Now, Pepe is a bulky set, but really does not want to be taking Flare Blitzes from a Charizard X. So I switch the hell out of there and go into Hodor, the Quagsire, because Hodor can take pretty much any hit this thing wants to deal out. Unless it's running Solar Beam, in which case it will take 2 turns to use anyway. I don't think this thing has anything to threaten us. He does go for the Will-O-Wisp Miss, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't really make too much difference in the long run, I don't think. He switches it to Chris Jr. Cresselia, it's not Cresselia, it's Porygon-2. And I go for the Earthquake, which doesn't do too much because Porygon-2 is his bulky set of gun. I expected him to go for a Toxic here, so I switch out into Pepe, hoping that I can in turn get my own Toxic off while absorbing his. He does go for the Toxic, Squirtacular absorbs the Toxic. We click Toxic ourselves, but unfortunately he does switch out and goes into Mandibuzz, which isn't too much of a loss because it's nice to get a Toxic off on this thing as well to break down at least one of his walls. So Mandibuzz is Toxic now. We get a little bit more recovery with the black sludge. At this point I decided to just click the Flamethrower just to get some damage off, to see how much it does. It does a decent amount. It does a decent amount considering this is a Mandibuzz. He goes for the U-turn, wanted to get some Swish initiative. Swish? Wants to get some Swiss initiative, yes. Goes out into Raiden, the Raikou. Again, I really don't want to be staying in on this thing, so I switch the hell out of there and go into Jabba. Go out into Jabba the Snorlax, because as I said, Snorlax is my check for this thing. I count it and count it and count it. We can take pretty much any attack that this thing wants to go for. I was talking with Jack Don Fanatic about it, and he mentioned that Raikou does get access to Aura Sphere if it's the event one. But I really wasn't expecting the event Raikou, so I wasn't too worried about that. He goes for a substitute at this point, and then goes for a Calm Mind, which is scary as hell. Sub-Calm Mind Raikou. That's not good at all, in the slightest. So I just go for an Earthquake here, wanting to get rid of this sub and hopefully get rid of this Raikou as quickly as possible. As I said, Snorlax can take the hits from Raikou. It is at +1 now though, so it's got that boost. It gets a little bit of leftovers recovery. Unfortunately, because we're a Silk Vest, Snorlax doesn't have any recovery of its own. And then it reveals the Aura Sphere, showing that it is in fact the event Raikou, which was a little dismaying. But I roll with the punch, go for the Earthquake, and we almost take this thing out. We probably would have killed this thing if this had been Adamant Snorlax, but it's not. It's careful to give it the tiny boost in special defense. So he goes for another one of those +1 Aura Spheres, and we live it. I go for the Ice Punch here, not wanting to have the Mandibuzz switch into completely negate the Earthquake. So I go for the Ice Punch, and Raikou just stays in, takes it, and goes down. Now, in comes Kecleon, Lorenzo the Kecleon. At this point, there wasn't really much point keeping Snorlax around. It's done its job, taking care of the Raikou, which was a huge threat. So I just let Kecleon take down Jabba at this point and bring in Metagross. He is the fighting type now, and I'm pretty sure we're faster. So I just click Zen Headbutt here, because this is a speedy physical Metagross, and he switches straight out into Charizard X. It does a decent little chunk of health to the Charizard, but we don't want to be staying in and taking one of those Flare Blitzes or Flamethrowers, whatever this thing's running. So I switch straight out into Quagsire, switch it to Hodor, take the Flare Blitz. We take it very, very well because this is physically defensive, Quagsire, but we get the burn. He gets the burn on the Flare Blitz, which kind of makes up for the Willow Miss earlier on, which means I don't have to feel too bad about any hacks or anything like that. So yeah, the Flare Blitz burn. I think that might actually be the first one of these I've ever seen. So yeah, seeing that Charizard can't do much to Quagsire, he switches out into Maruto the Mandibuzz again, and I just go for the safe Scald. I mean, I could have gone for the Earthquake, but we are burned, so it may or may not have lowered our attack power. I'm not entirely sure because we are unaware, so I'm not sure whether burn lowers our attack power, but I didn't want to risk it, so I just go for the safe Scald option. Maruto then goes for the Roost, showing its wall status by getting some HP back. We do the same, we go for recover because I want to try and keep Hodor as healthy as possible because of that powerful Charizard, and also because of that Porygon too, because it can come in and we really don't want to be taking those tri-attacks because Quagsire's special attack is quite poor, to be fair. He goes for the U-turn at this point because he doesn't want to stay in too long because of that toxic damage racking up, and he switches out into Kecleon. I go for the safe. I did go for the safe Scald again. We don't get a burn at this point. After the past 2 weeks, I was kind of paranoid of a Grass Knot, So I switch out here into Metagross because I was so paranoid of a grass knot you wouldn't even believe it. So I go out into Metagross. I could also take this opportunity to get the rocks up, which is nice because we do carry the stealth rock on Metagross. And then he reveals the Solar Beam with the Power Herb. Power Herb, Solar Beam. Boy, am I glad I switched. Honestly, this is a beautiful play from Josh. I would expect nothing less, to be honest, from this guy. The Power Herb Solar Beam catered especially for Quagsire there. So glad I switched. He then goes for the Sucker Punch to try and catch Metagross. But we go for the Stealth Rock, fortunately avoiding that Sucker Punch because that would have dealt some damage that we really did not want to take. I don't want to risk the Sucker Punch again, so I just switch out into Evergreen here. And Kecleon just goes for the Drain Punch, probably to just try to keep himself in as long as possible. So Kecleon is proving itself to be a bit of a problem. It shows that it's probably got some offense as well with how much damage that did. This may well be max HP, max attack Kecleon. So with Drain Punch it's managing to keep itself alive very well. It does have natural special defense bulk as well. I go for the Drain Punch here because we are physical Mega Sceptile. I really wanted to get a Swords Dance up, but we didn't really have an opportunity to, so I just go for the Drain Punch. He goes for his Drain Punch of his own, bringing us down to 24 health, and then goes for the Sucker Punch, which I actually completely derped and forgot about. So yeah, unfortunately Evergreen does go down without doing much of anything, which is unfortunate because I would have liked Evergreen to do a bit more this match and to show its worth, but yeah, there'll be other matches. Then at this point I switch in with Pepe, go for a Toxic on this thing because it is proving itself to be a bit of a nuisance. So getting the Toxic up on this thing is going to be very nice. It goes for the Drain Punch and does a nasty chunk of health to Pepe. A nasty chunk of damage. I really don't want to be taking too much damage with Pepe because I still really want to get the Toxic off on that Porygon too. So I want to try and keep Pepe around as long as I can. So I switch out here into Hodor. At this point I was pretty confident with the Quagsire switching on Kecleon because he's already revealed the Solar Beam. The likelihood of him running Grass Knot as well is very, very low. Because that would be completely pointless then. So yeah, I bring in Hodor, he goes for a Drain Punch, we take it like a boss because Quagsire is physically defensive. The bird is whittling us down, but we do have the recovery option. Seeing Kecleon isn't doing much damage to Hodor, he switches out, brings back the Mandibuzz, possibly to try and take the hits from this thing and maybe try and wear us down with that burn. Maybe try and stall out our recovers. So yeah, here we have a bit of a stall war between Mandibuzz and Quagsire. We have a bit of a tit for tat bit of scolds for foul plays. The good thing is that in a stall war, because Mandibuzz is toxic, Hodor will eventually win because the toxic damage does increase every turn, whereas the burn doesn't. So Mandibuzz takes a bit of toxic damage this turn. As you can see, it's already starting to rack up. We take our little bit of burn damage, but we do have the leftovers as well. So that's kind of soothing the burn damage a little bit. He goes for the foul play. We do have that bit of attack investment as well because Quagsire's attack stat is actually higher than its special attack stat. So Skull is literally only there for water coverage and the burn option, perhaps. So Mandibuzz takes that toxic damage again, brings it down to a tiny sliver of health. He goes for the foul play again at this point, possibly seeing that there isn't much point trying to preserve Mandibuzz because the toxic damage will just stack up, and I don't think he's got much left on his team aside from maybe Mew that can really break Hodor. So Mandibuzz goes down. We're still at about 75% health, about 60% health now after the burn. So yeah, Hodor's still pretty healthy. He brings in Crest Jr., probably wanting to get us. I was a bit fearful of the tri-attack here because Quagsire doesn't want to take any special hits because its special attack is absolute rubbish, as I've already said. I bring in Pepe here, still wanting to get the Toxic off on this thing. He goes for the T-Wave, predicting anything really other than Quagsire to switch in. So Pepe is now paralysed. I do, like I say, I do still want to go for the Toxic, so that's what I clicked. He brings in Lorenzo, seeing that play before it happened, because Lorenzo is already Toxic. So that doesn't do much of anything. So we've now got a paralysed Skuntank on the field, which isn't too much of an issue because we're already pretty slow anyway. The full paralysis is going to be a bit of a bit nerve-wracking. He then goes for the Solar Beam, expecting Hodor to come back in. I did switch Hodor back in to the field because we could take pretty much any hit that this thing was to dish out. And because he's lost the Power Herb, it's now going to take him 2 turns to charge that Solar Beam, which means if he goes for it, I can just switch Hodor straight back out like this and go into Metagross, who I already know can take the hit very, very well. So he does go for the Solar Beam. Obviously it lands because Solar Beam has 100% accuracy. Doesn't do too much damage to Metagross. He takes a bit of toxic damage, and that does actually bring him down in range of Metagross's Brick Break. So we managed to take down the Kecleon. I'm surprised he didn't go for the Sucker Punch that turn, but maybe he didn't expect me to stay in. So a bit of a double prediction there, maybe, I don't know. So he brings in Charizard X. Again, we don't want to stay in on the potential Flare Blitz. We switch back in with Hodor to take the hit. He goes for the Flare Blitz, does a hefty chunk of damage. Charizard showing its power there with the amount of damage that it managed to do, even to physically defensive Quagsire. So we're at 68 health. The burn brings us down to 43, which is unfortunate because it means we can't take another Flare Blitz. So unfortunately Hodor does go down this turn, but we're proud of Hodor. He's done really, really well this game. He's definitely been a star player. Aragon takes a bit of recoil damage from the Flare Blitz. At this point I just bring in Wanky Washer, the captain of the team, and go for the Volt Switch to finish off this Charizard X, because we are max speed. We're also Choice Scarf, so we were obviously going to add speed. So we go for the Volt Switch. The safest switch I have at the moment is Skuntank, because he has Mew and Porygon 2 left. So I switch in Skuntank. He brings in Muselini, the Mew. Honestly, I got no idea what this thing wanted to do, so I just go for a Dark Pulse. He goes for the Earth Power though, which does clean take us down, so we have lost the Toxic option on Porygon 2, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult to deal with. But Mew is fairly weak now, so I bring in Rotom. We go for the Volt Switch, and we do manage to take down the Mew. So we switch out now to the only other Pokemon we have left, which is Metagross. And Josh brings in his final remaining Pokemon, which is Crest Jr., the Porygon 2. Now, at this point, I knew it was going to go for some sort of shenanigans. It was going to either be Toxic or Thunder Wave. I'd go into Rotom here, because I don't really mind taking the Toxic onto Rotom at this point, and the Thunder Wave isn't going to do jack. He does go for the Thunder Wave, wanting to paralyze Metagross, and then I go for the Trick. So I trick the Choice Scarf onto Porygon, which is probably a very, very cruel play. We receive its EV, like Crest Jr. goes for Recover, but it is unfortunately now Choice Locked into Recover, so it could do absolutely nothing. So now it's lost its EV a lot. I switch it to Metagross because you do have the Brick Break, and we can hit this thing for super effective damage now. Again, Crest Jr. is locked into the Recover. Josh knew he'd lost at that point, so he just concedes the game. So yeah, Honestly, there was no point dragging it out because Metagross was just going to destroy Cresselia. It was just going to take down Porygon 2 anyway with the Brick Breaks. So yeah, it was an unnecessary couple of turns, to be honest. It literally would have just been Porygon 2 trying to recover stall Metagross's Brick Breaks. So we'll chalk that up to a kill for Metagross. So that was the game. We secure our first victory, ladies and gentlemen persons. A nice 2-0. It was a very good game though. It was a very good game. Josh made some good plays. I mean, that Solar Beam on Kecleon, if it hadn't been for the level of paranoia I already held because of those surprise moves in the last 2 matches, I probably wouldn't have switched out and he would have caught me with that Solar Beam. So that's kind of unfortunate for him. But yeah, I definitely tip my hat to the proness of that play. So thank you very much for that game, Josh. It was a good game. I really enjoyed it. Yes, I did Toxic quite a few of his mons, and then I did recover stall a bit with Quagsire, and then I kind of unnecessarily and rather cruelly choice locked his Porygon into recover at the end there. But yeah, they were all kind of necessary plays. I didn't do it just to be mean, I didn't do it to be a jerk. They were the plays that I feel I needed to make at the time. So yeah, that's it. So yes, we secure our first win. So thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed this match as much as I did. So next week guys, is going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Next week's opponent is actually City, Dan of the Blastburn Rovers. As you may or may not know from the Union News last week, there was a bit of banter between Dan and I, where I said I would double slap his Mamoswine out of the league with Mr. Mime. And for most people that's just banter. For me, that's a challenge. So yeah, I shouldn't really be giving away what I'm gonna run, but double slapping the Mamoswine out of the league, honestly, I mean, you know me guys, I want to try it, I want to do it, I want to make it happen. Obviously I've got another 5 mods to play with, where I could bring literally anything, but yeah, I so want to double slap that Mamoswine. I so want to do it. That's kind of going to be my goal next week, to be honest. Dan is a very strong player, so, but yeah, I will be trying for a win. I mean, like I say, I've got 5 other mons anyway, so I mean, even in this match, Evergreen was kind of like an unnecessary 6. It was just kind of there. The roles that I needed were already filled by the other 5, so sometimes you do have that extra slot on a team. So yeah, expect to see Mr. Mime next week, guys. It's been rather unfortunately absent from the last two games, but yeah, it will be making a comeback next week. So look forward to that, guys. Hope to see you there. Thank you for joining me. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.